Namaskar. In this lesson, we are going to study about the relationship to the resource based and footloose industries. Industry is any work that is undertaken for economic gain and that promotes employment. The word may be applied to a wide range of activities from farming to manufacturing to tourism. A resource is a source or supply from which benefit is produced. Fisheries, forestry, recreation related tourism, agriculture and hunting will be affordable and sustainable industries. Will employ best management practices to protect common resources and will be supported as critical resources and key sectors of the national economy. Footloose industries is a general term for an industry that can be placed and located at any location without effect from factors such as resources or transport. A footloose industry does not have a strong locational preference because the resources, production skills and the consumers on which it depends can be found in numerous places. Such a company may therefore be more prone to relocation, hence the term footloose. These industries can be located at a wide variety of places as these are not weight losing or raw material specific. Moreover, they produce in relatively small quantities employing smaller workforce and are considered to be more efficient from an ecological point of view. These are generally not polluting industries. Some of the industries are discussed in this topic. Hence, in this episode, the following aspects are going to be seen: fishing in India, forest based industries, tourism in India and agriculture in India. The first aspect is fishing in India. Fishing in India is a major industry in its coastal states employing over 14 million people. Fish production in India has increased more than tenfold since its independence in 1947. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, fish output in India doubled between 1990 and 2010. India has 8,118 kilometers of marine coastline, 3,827 fishing villages and 1,914 traditional fish landing centers. India's freshwater resource consists of 1,95,210 kilometers of rivers and canals, 2.9 million hectares of minor and major reservoirs, 2.4 million hectares of ponds and lakes, and about 0.8 million hectares of floodplain wetlands and water bodies. As of 2010, the marine and freshwater resource offered a combined sustainable catch fishing potential of over 4 million metric tons of fish. In addition, India's water and natural resource offer a tenfold growth potential in aquaculture from 2010 harvest levels of 3.9 million metric tons of fish if India were to adopt fishing knowledge, regulatory reforms and sustainability policies adopted by China over the last 2 decades. Marine and freshwater catch fishing combined with aquaculture fish farming is a rapidly growing industry in India. Next is the history of fishiculture. Fishing and aquaculture in India has a long history. Kautilya's Arthashastra and King Someshwara's Manasotra each referred to fish culture. For centuries, India had a traditional practice of fish culture in small ponds in eastern India. Significant advances in productivity were made in the state of West Bengal in the early 19th century with the controlled breeding of carp in bunds. Bunds are the tanks or impoundments where river conditions are simulated. Fish culture received notable attention in Tamil Nadu as early as 1911. Subsequently, states such as West Bengal, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh initiated fish culture through the establishment of fisheries departments. In 2006, Indian central government initiated a dedicated organization focused on fisheries under its Ministry of Agriculture. Brackish water forming in India is also an age-old system confined mainly to the berries, man-made impoundments in coastal wetlands of West Bengal and Pokali, a salt-resistant deep-water paddy fields along the Kerala coast. With no additional knowledge and technology input except that of trapping the naturally bred juvenile fish and shrimp seed, these systems have been sustaining production levels of between 500 to 750 kg per hectare per year, with shrimp contributing 20 to 25% of the total Indian production. Next is the growth. Fish production has increased more than tenfold since independence. It rose from only 8 lakh tons in the financial year of 1950 to 4.1 million tons in the early 1990s. Special efforts have been made to promote extensive and intensive inland fish farming, modernize coastal fisheries and encourage deep sea fishing through joint ventures. These efforts led to a more than fourfold increase in coastal fish production from 5,20,000 tons in the financial year of 1950 to 2.4 million tons in financial year of 1990. The increase in inland fish production was even more dramatic, increasing almost 8-fold from 2,18,000 tons in financial year 1950 to 1.7 million tons in the financial year of 1990. The value of fish and processed fish exports increased from less than 1% of the total value of exports in financial year 1960 to 3.6% in the financial year of 1993. Between 1990 to 2007, fish production in India has grown at a higher rate than food grains, milk, eggs and other food items. Scope for the development. The scope for increasing production of freshwater and sea fish is certainly large. It is known that only a fraction of the water area of 15 million acres under rivers, canals, gills and tanks has been utilized. The backwater and estuarine fisheries are still very largely underdeveloped. India's coastline is 2,900 miles long, though it is not as well indented as the coasts of say England and Japan and has a rather narrow continental shelf. It offers considerable scope for the development of sea and estuarine fisheries. Only a small portion of the resource is being exploited at present, mainly for two reasons. Namely, the first one is the small country craft cannot operate behind a few miles from the shore, and the second is over a large area adequate harbour and landing facilities do not exist. Recent charting and exploratory offshore fishing operations carried out in the Bay of Bengal and along the west coast indicate that our seas are rich in a variety of commercial species of fish which can be economically exploited. The fisheries plan. In working out the development program, we had to allocate certain priorities which were based on a balance of many considerations such as the nature of the fisheries, the availability of the resources and the technical skill, the present stage of development, the interest of small fishermen and lastly the need for immediate increase in the production. For instance, in the maritime state of West Bengal, emphasis has been on the development of inland fisheries for which there is very considerable and immediate scope. In the case of inland fisheries, the priorities are the survey and stocking of new culturable waters and collection of fry. In the case of marine fisheries, the priorities are mechanization of country craft or introduction of new mechanized boats, harbour facilities, supply of requisites to fishermen, development of marketing, provision of ice and cold storage and transport facilities, introduction of mothership operations and provision for offshore fishing with larger powered vessels such as purse seiners and travellers. Based on these priorities, the plan provides for a total expenditure of rupees 4.6 crores in addition to the provision under the Technical Cooperation Aid Program. Next are the institutes. There are several specialized institutes that train fishermen. The Central Institute of Fisheries, Nautical and Engineering Training in Juhu instructs operators of deep sea fishing vessels and technicians for shore establishment. It has facilities in Madras and Visakhapatnam for about 500 trainees a year. An institute named Fisheries Institute of Technology and Training has been established with the participation of Tatas in Tamil Nadu to impart world-class training facility to fishers and thereby improving the socio-economic condition of fishers. The Integrated Fisheries Project, also headquartered in Kochi, was established for the processing, popularizing and marketing of unusual fish. Another training organizations, the Coastal Institute of Coastal Engineering for Fisheries in Bangalore has done techno-economic feasibility studies on locations of fishing harbour sites and brackish water fish farms. There are 14 fisheries colleges functioning in various states of the country, providing professional fisheries education with a view of developing professionalism in the field of fisheries. The College of Fisheries, Panangad College of Fisheries, Mangalore, etc. are some to name. The second aspect is forest based industries. Forest based industries were encouraged because of its rural identity and its ability to solve the problem of unemployment and poverty. In addition, the policy makers had also perceived that natural resource based industrial development is a prerequisite for the economic development of less developed countries like India. Hence, the government both at the center and the state encouraged establishment of small, medium and large scale forest based industries in the region. Due to this policy, the country witnessed heavy pressure of industries on forests for raw material purpose. Trends in outturn of forest products. The extraction of major forest produce had declined from 13,20,829 cubic meter to 3,39,832 cubic meter in 18 years period. Similarly, the extraction of minor forest produce also declined from 57,065 tons to 5,847 tons between 1973 and 74 and 1990 to 91. The trend remains same for the state as well. The decline in the production of forest produce was owing to strict enforcement of forest policy, namely less exploitation and sustainable management of forest resources. Among the forest produce, the extraction of firewood was found to be higher. It is due to higher dependency of people on forest for firewood purpose. Bamboo shares a majority in the minor forest produce because it is used as raw material in paper industry and cottage industry such as basket weaving. Since bamboo produces quality pulp, the paper mills located in this region have consumed more bamboo than any other softwood. Furthermore, subsidized rate of supply of bamboo is also a reason for higher outturn. Forest, source of life for the forest based large and medium scale industries. Forest serves as a source of livelihood for the large and medium scale industries located in the study area. Several industries were operating in the study region. However, few forest based industries have got the privilege to extract forest products on their own. The Indian Plywood Manufacturing Western Indian Match Company, Harihar Polyfibers and Karnataka State Winners are a few worth mentioning. Taking advantage of this policy decision, many private industrialists have got long-term agreement with the forest department and started to exploit the forest in a haphazard manner. Although the raw material received from the forest departments was considered to be permanent, the supply is declining year after year. Industries located in the selected districts have received 16% of timber in 1982 to 83, which has been reduced to 4% in 1988 to 89. Similarly, the supply of bamboo to industries also declined from 31% in 1986 and 87 to 25% in 1988 and 89. The trend remains same for the state as well. The forest department supply of bamboo is found to be more homogeneous than the supply of any other raw material. The department's supply of other raw material shows a negative growth rate. As forest department has reduced its supply, the forest based medium and large scale industries are depending on private source for their raw material requirement. In addition, industries are meeting their raw material requirements through industrial captive plantation and also by importing it from other states and other countries. The industries have also substituted bagasse, pine trees, eucalyptus and acacia for bamboo. Nonetheless, the forest is a sole dependable source of raw material required by industries and also the only major level player for the survival of large and medium scale industries in the study area. Next is the impact of wood shortage on forest based industries. Almost all small scale industries have informed to the researcher that they face shortage of wood and many have lost their occupation. They are slowly migrating to some other occupation. It was also found that deforestation and non-availability of forest produce was mainly responsible for the closure of many traditional industries like Ayurvedic and woodcraft industries. As far as medium and large scale industries are concerned, they try to fulfill the wood requirement either through their own captive plantations or through private supply, sometime by importing wood from foreign countries. As an alternative, the wood based large scale industries have already started to replace a few raw materials like bamboo by other substances such as bagasse pulp from sugar industry, unfamiliar softwoods such as acacia, pine and eucalyptus. Since the supply of wood and the timber is scarce, the small scale industries have started to combine synthetic nylon wires, plywood, sunmica and steel along with wood, timber, bamboo and cane products. The third aspect is tourism in India. The terms tourism defined as the activities of persons travelling to and staying in places outside their usual environment for not more than one consecutive year for leisure, business and other purposes not related to the exercise of an activity remunerated from within the place visited. In developing countries like India, tourism has become one of the major sectors of the economy, contributing to a large proportion of the national income and generating huge employment opportunities. It has become the fastest growing service industry in the country with great potential for its further expansion and diversification. However, there are pros and cons involved with the development of tourism industry in the country. Let us discuss the development as well as the negative and positive impacts of tourism industry in India. Development of tourism in India. The first conscious and organized efforts to promote tourism in India were made in 1945 when a committee was set up by the government under the chairmanship of Sir John Sargent, the then educational advisor to the government of India. Thereafter, the development of tourism was taken up in a planned manner in 1956, coinciding with the second 5-year plan. The approach has evolved from isolating planning of single unit facilities in the second and third 5-year plans. The sixth plan marked the beginning of a new era when tourism began to be considered a major instrument for social integration and economic development. Today, tourism is the largest service industry in India, with a contribution of 6.23% to the national GDP and providing 8.78% of the total employment. India witnesses more than 5 million annual foreign tourist arrivals and 562 million domestic tourism visits. The tourism industry in India generated about 100 billion US dollars in 2008, and that is expected to increase to 275.5 billion US dollars by 2018 at a 9.4% annual growth rate. The Ministry of Tourism is the nodal agency for the development and promotion of tourism in India and maintains the Incredible India campaign. Next is tourist attractions in India. India is a country known for its lavish treatment to all visitors, no matter where they come from. Its visitor-friendly traditions, varied lifestyles and cultural heritage and colorful fairs and festivals held abiding attractions for tourists. The other attractions include beautiful beaches, forests and wildlife and landscapes for ecotourism, snow, river and mountain peaks for adventure tourism, technological parks and science museums for science tourism, centers of pilgrimage for spiritual tourism, heritage trains and hotels for heritage tourism, yoga, Ayurveda and natural health resorts and hill stations also attract tourists. The Indian handicrafts, particularly jewellery, carpets, leather goods, ivory and brass work are the main shopping items of foreign tourists. It is estimated through survey that nearly 40% of the tourist expenditure on shopping is spent on such items. Despite the economic slowdown, medical tourism in India is the fastest growing segment of tourism industry. According to the market research report, Booming Medical Tourism in India, the report adds that India offers a great potential in the medical tourism industry. Factors such as low cost, scale and range of treatments provided in the country add to its attractiveness as a medical tourism destinations. Next is the initiatives to boost tourism. Some of the recent initiatives taken by the government to boost tourism include grant of export house status to the tourism sector and incentives for promoting private investment in the form of income tax exemptions, interest subsidy and reduced import duty. The hotel and the tourism related industry has been declared a high priority industry for foreign investment, which entails automatic approval of direct investment up to 51% of foreign equity and allowing 100% non-resident Indian investment and simplifying rules regarding the grant of approval to travel agents, tour operators and tourist transport operators. The first ever Indian Tourism Day was celebrated on January 25, 1998. The year 1999 was celebrated as Explore India Millennium Year by presenting a spectacular tableau on the cultural heritage of India at the Republic Day Parade and organizing India Tourism Expo in New Delhi. Moreover, the campaign Visit India Year 2009 was launched at the International Tourism Exchange in Berlin, aimed to project India as an attractive destination for holiday makers. The government joined hands with leading airlines, hoteliers, holiday resorts and tour operators and offered them a wide range of incentives and bonuses during the period between April and December 2009. The fourth aspect is agriculture in India. Agriculture in India is the means of livelihood of almost 2/3 of the workforce in the country. It has always been India's most important economic sector. The 1970s saw a huge increase in India's wheat production that heralded the green revolution in the country. The increase in post-independence agricultural production has been brought about by bringing additional area under cultivation, extension of irrigation facilities, use of better seeds, better technologies, water management and plant protection. The Department of Agriculture has a chief role to play in formulating policies based on crops, seasonal growth and importing technology to enhance the fertility of the soil. There are special schemes for loans available for farmers. The government is backing the efforts of many farmers and their families. Agriculture in India is improvising with collaboration in technology using tractors, fertilizers and also new methods to aid farming. Barren lands are researched and guidelines for funding the same are being allocated. Exhibitions on Rabi and Kharif crops and model schemes are allocated to precisely boost sales and also promote export of local produce. Rain-fed farming, banking loans, education for the farmer are the chief initiatives by the government to develop the life of rural farming lands. Agriculture is also looked with the motive of maintaining the ecological balance. Harvest preservation, marketing for agricultural produce, tertiary market upgradation in some of the plans followed by the Agricultural Department of India. Next is the scenario of Indian agriculture. Indian agriculture has an extensive background which goes back to 10,000 years. At present, in terms of agricultural production, the country holds the second position all over the world. In 2007, agriculture and other associated industries such as lumbering and forest represented around 16.6% of the gross domestic product of the country. In addition, the sector recruited about 52% of the entire manpower. Regardless of the fact that there has been a gradual slump in its contribution to the gross domestic product of the country, India agriculture is currently the biggest industry in India. On the whole, it has a key role in the socio-economic growth of the country. Next is the agricultural products in India. India ranks first in producing the agricultural outputs are anise, fresh fruit, badian, fennel, tropical fresh fruit, coriander, etc. The country also ranks as the top producer of millets such as bajra, jowar and ragi. In terms of rice production, India holds the second position after China. The population of India is increasing at a faster pace than its capacity to produce wheat and rice. India holds the second position in production of wheat, rice, cotton, sugarcane and groundnuts. It is also the second biggest harvester of vegetables and fruits, representing 8.6% and 10.9% of the overall vegetable and fruit production in the world correspondingly. The country is the top producer of jute, milk and pulses and holds the second rank in the production of silk, and it is the biggest consumer of silk in the world. In 2005, the country produced 77,000 million tons of silk. Other interesting facts about Indian agriculture. India enjoys the second position all over the world in terms of agricultural production. During the period of 2009 and 10, farming and associated industries such as lumbering, forestry and fishing represented approximately 15.7% of the gross domestic product of the country. These industries also recruited 52.1% of the overall manpower of India. Outputs on a unitary basis for every type of harvest have increased from 1950. This has been possible since the government has put particular focus on farming operations in the 5-year plans. And stable developments in the domains of engineering science, irrigation, implementation of contemporary farming operations and supply of cultivation loans and grants after the Green Revolution took place in the country. Nonetheless, worldwide evaluate studies disclose that the mean agricultural output in the country is typically 30 to 50% of the maximum average output in the world. Lastly, I conclude by saying that Footloose Industries in India is growing and it has vast potential for generating employment and earning large amount of foreign exchange, besides giving a fillip to the country's overall economic and social development, but much more remains to be done. Thank you.